Thank you. I hid my notes down here. I often put my notes on a lectern before I come to speak, and my experience is previous presenters knock them off. So you stand up here and you go, oh, there's nothing here for me. Fabulous. I read an article last weekend in the Sun Herald's Sunday Life, and it was by a chap by the name of Justin Heems, or Hems, it's H-E-M-M-E-S, not sure how to pronounce it. He's the CEO of the Maryvale Group, and where it caught my eye, actually my husband read it and he said you might be interested in reading this, and it was called What I Know About Women. So I actually got excited when I saw this because I was going to read the insights of a 38-year-old male, a male CEO, and I thought it would be a refreshing read. I thought maybe something about the contribution that women make. A couple of excerpts for you. The majority of my senior admin staff are female. This is a conscious decision. I think women are incredibly loyal. A perfect example is my EA, who has been with me for 13 years. Now that's amazing breakthrough that women are working in admin. I was very impressed with that. Another thing he said was, I hold women in the highest regard. They are so beautiful physically, and their minds are more complex than men's. And look, I've done this. I was saying to the guys in size 16 font, so I didn't need to put these on, but it's not happening for me. So I just have to keep looking over them when I look at you. So yes, hold them in the highest regard. They're so beautiful, and their minds are more complex than men's. Women are incredibly strong. They bear children, for God's sake. Women won't let you down, and this was the kicker for me. I love the way a woman can lift you up to the highest cloud with just a smile. A guy can't do that. Please. How awesome. We not only look good, but we can have kids too. I could not believe that this guy was 38, not 68. I understand older generations through how they've grown up and what they're used to. I understand that that's how they're going to talk, because that's what their beliefs were and what their values were. It was pretty scary. A guy who's not yet 40 just sees us as beautiful creatures that can have kids and work in admin. So this indicates to me that we still have a way to go in changing attitudes if we're going to make any headway with gender equity in the workplace. We've talked about equality for many years now, but this hasn't translated into true equity. In researching the difference between equity and equality, these are some of the things that I found. Equality emphasises treating people the same. However, treating people the same doesn't allow for significant differences that may affect the outcomes of the equal treatment. Unfortunately, treating people in an equal way usually results in emphasising their inequality. Equity, however, recognises the differences and accommodates them in order to prevent the continuation of the inequitable status quo. Equity emphasises fairness in process and outcome and does not presume a hypothetical idea and undifferentiated individual. We need to remember both women are equal but different to men. Both genders contribute in very different ways. One isn't right, the other one wrong, they're just different. I'm passionate about women's issues. I'm passionate about working with women. I am in no way anti-men, but I am very pro-women. Aviva Wittenberg-Cox, the co-author of How Women Mean Business, which I know has been a large part of your concepts here, she says, isn't it time to recognise that the 20th century is over? Equal opportunities and diversity programs are so last century, making women act the same as men has been tried and nobody likes the result. Instead of trying to fix women, it's time to fix the system. So where do we start? I believe we need to start with an attitude shift for both males and females. We need to understand and embrace the differences while at the same time change our perspective on how and why we're different. We try and put people in boxes, and then if the box doesn't fit where we want it to go, we try and change it. We need to accept we are really different, and vive la différence, as the French say. We need to lose the urge to rely on historical stereotypes. She's tough, therefore she's a bitch. She's a woman, therefore she's over-emotional and irrational. He only wants to talk to the other managers about football, therefore he's trying to exclude me. Guys don't talk about feelings stuff. We need to accept that. If you've got a partner that talks about feeling stuff, that's great, but they're not going to talk at the same level. It's not how they work. So if they talk about football, accept it. It's not about you, it's about what they're comfortable discussing. Am I right, lads? Yeah. If we get to know our workmates on a person-to-person basis instead of from a gender-only perspective, we can overcome some of these stereotypes. We need to lose some of our behaviours of the past if both genders are to be taken seriously by the others. We've got this fabulous program today, and I was so excited when I talked to Ruth about what you're doing and how it's being driven by Alan. I work for councils, I do training work for councils right across the state. I work for organisations across the country, and I hear a lot of people pay lip service to this. I'm not seeing it actually being done. And so you can have policies, but we need to come down to individual practice. One of the women's forums I'm running at the moment, one of the topics is looking at ethics, and it's looking at the difference between your real and stated values. So you can have the values of what you believe in, and this is what we hold true, but how are we actually applying and living those values? So a classic example is, we are a family-friendly organisation, and if you put in your 60 to 70 hours a week, we'll love you even more, And so it's really refreshing to hear the general manager here say family comes first, because as I said, a lot of people pay lip service to it. So let's look at some of the attitudes, and these I don't mean in any way to be derogatory or to put anyone in a particular box, but I'm sure you'll identify with some of them. So let's look at the behaviours and attitudes of the men. The girls will get their turn in a moment. Humans are designed to fear what they do not understand. Most men do not understand women. Therefore, as much as they may not want to admit it, there's a fear factor that modifies most male-female relationships. To make that shift for the guys, if you're wanting, you want this to work, you want gender equity, but you're not sure how to go about it, a great way to think about it, for those of you who have daughters, think about how you would like them to be treated in the workplace. Do you want them to have the same opportunities as men? And so if that's the case, how are you going to apply that to the women your age or older that you're working with? Beware political correctness. I think it's gone to ridiculous levels. Saying all the so-called right things doesn't hide the inner male chauvinist. We actually can see straight through that, can't we, girls? I'll give you an example. I've done work this year for a large organisation, a power organisation. I've done women's workshops. This organisation has 21% of their workforce female. So, driven from the top down, they were very keen to have more opportunities, create more opportunities for women, so they created a Women at Work network. And part of that was creating some training opportunities. So I ran 20 workshops on influence, negotiation, assertive communication skills for women across the state. And I did one in Sydney, I did one in Broken Hill, I travelled all around the state. And it was so funny, the one in Sydney, I was met with the guys, in their corporate office with their ties, and they're incredibly polite. But behind the politeness, and I was saying all the right things, but behind the politeness I was seeing I don't know what this stuff's about, but she's here, we better be nice to her, and I don't know, it's secret women's business, so I didn't quite get it. I went out to Broken Hill, and they didn't say anything offensive or do anything, but I wasn't picking up anything genuine from it. They were trying to be politically correct. I go out to Broken Hill, and I don't know if anyone's been out there, there's not a lot of flights into Broken Hill, so I sort of got in the day before around lunchtime and had some time to sort of wander around the town. And then the next morning I go to the training room. Now, it wasn't quite like the corporate training room in Sydney. It was, the workers' shed was attached to it, and it was this kind of pretty rustic training room, and the girls all came in, and this bloke arrived. No shirt and tie. He was one of the senior managers of this organisation, and he had his work boots and his blue shirt on. "Oh, darling, how are you?" he said. threw his hand out, big warm handshake. Everything he said was, today's standards, so politically incorrect, but he was incredibly genuine. He said, so you're going to sort these Sheilas out today? Well, you lot better pay attention, because she looks like she means business. Actually, you look a bit scary, love. But anyway, you should have told me you were here last night. I'd have taken you out for a feed. There's a really good pub up the top of the hill. Now, he called us Sheilas, and he said I was going to sort them out. But I didn't get precious about that. I'm going to talk about preciousness in a little while. But I saw that as a positive. He was warm, he was welcoming, and I didn't feel that he was being condescending in any way. In face-to-face communication, the words only make up 7%, and a lot of you would have heard this before, but they only make up 7% of the message. The 55% which make this body language and the 38% tone of voice gets the real message across. So you might be saying all the right things, but if you're looking incredibly uncomfortable standing talking to a senior female, we're going to pick up on it. Guys, don't patronise us. When I was doing these, I'm going to say something about this organisation, one of the senior members, which is why I'm not naming it. But at each of these presentations, a senior manager would come and do an intro for me. And at one of the sites, a senior manager, male manager, was doing the intro to the presentation. He was trying to say all the nice right things. And he said, I've worked with some senior women and some of them are actually quite smart. Now, I was sitting at the front at a table here and trying to sit there and smile and look like this is all cool when I wanted to throw up, really. And to try, he didn't really pick up on, and he was a chap, you know, in his early 60s, I would imagine, late 50s, but he thought that was a nice thing to say. Many years ago, before I started the Business Women's Network, I was a member of Rotary, and I can't remember, and it's a fabulous organisation, but it wasn't many years ago, and there weren't a lot of women, this was when I was living up the coast, there weren't a lot of women in it at the time, and I can't remember if the title is District Governor, or it was the Grand Poobah anyway of the region that came along to our changeover lunch. And this is where he lost me, because I'd been a hard-working Rotarian, heavily involved, but this is where he lost me. It was part of my inspiration for, I don't want to play in your sandpit, I'm going to go and create my own, so I set up the Business Women's Network. It's good that we now have more women in Rotary. They do a great job of the newsletters and help to organise lovely events. Patronising. We're very different in how we communicate, the males and the females. Females, if any of you read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, one of the things I learned from that book is females speak to be understood, and we seek to understand. Men seek to be heard. So if you interrupt us and we don't feel you've understood us, we're going to keep talking. So it's going to be less painful for you if you just let us get it off our chest, honestly. We're just going to keep talking. There's a great book out, it's been around for years, called Gender Games, and by Candy Timpson. And in it, she talks about the differences in the way males and females listen to each other. And this was really helpful for me when I read it, because I'd been a trainer, you know, we've had a training business now for 13 years, and I'd be in a training session, I'd be talking to the guys, and the guys would be like this. Here's how men listen. No expression, head slightly tilted to one side. They don't move, they don't have facial expressions, it's very still, and I know you guys listening to me now because it's exactly, have a look, that's exactly how they look. Right, so that's what they do. Females, and men nod when they agree. Women nod when they are saying they hear you and they understand. So it's very, very different. When two females are communicating with each other, what we have a tendency to do, I mean, we flap our hands around left, right and centre. But when we're communicating with each other, we're looking at each other and mirroring each other's facial expressions, hand movements. So if you're talking, women, you're talking to your girlfriend, oh, I know, yeah. And if I was to do something really sad that happened to me this year, you would all look sad, you would all look down. Women. So what happens is, because women reflect each other's communication style and their body language and their facial expressions, we look for that in the males when we're talking to you. So if we're telling you something really animated and we're getting back, what do you think we're going to do? Keep talking, yeah? until we see something. So we'll tell you the same story a second time with more detail because we need you to really understand it. So you might tilt your head the other way and in your mind you're thinking, how is this different to what she just said? But still no expression. A strong part of communication, you have a sender, you have a receiver, you need to send the information across, then you want the feedback coming back. So we're not getting the non-verbal feedback. We're not really getting anything. So if it's your wife, at that point, she won't tell you again. She'll say, you're not listening to me. And the poor guy goes, I've been sitting here for 25 minutes. You know, you told me the same thing twice. And I'm waiting for you to get to the point. And the female, you know, is frustrated. Now, in a work situation, she may not abuse you like if she's your wife. She might. But what tends to happen is we might get the sulks, or we'll tell you again, or we'll huff and puff. So my tip for the guys, the nodding thing is very different for you. A grunt would be fine. A little bit of a nod, a little bit of acknowledgement. You've heard, because we're looking for something. These are the differences. Women, if you're talking to a male and he's staring straight at you, head slightly tilted to the side, he's not looking at anything else, assume he's listening, then ask a question for the feedback. The question should never be, are you listening to me? Because he will go, yes. And that's not going to let you know whether he understands. So ask more of an open question that engages him in the conversation. Now, guys, do look at us when we're conversing with you. If you're talking to us and you want us to take what you're saying seriously, don't talk over our shoulder, out the window, at your computer screen or at our chest. If you're looking everywhere but us, we're not sure that you're actually talking to us. Now, when I talk about male and female styles, it's a known fact, not all males have a male style, and not all females have a female style. And we need to acknowledge that. And I don't like to put people in boxes. I have a very female style most of the time. But in business, if I'm communicating particularly with males, I'll have a really male style. So we need to be able to not change who we are, but in any kind of communication situation, we need to be aware of who we're talking to, what outcomes we want from the conversation, and how we're going to achieve those outcomes. Another tip for you, don't try and solve our problems for us if we discuss them unless we specifically ask for your advice. One of the differences with women, particularly women with a strong female style, we talk things through. We work things out and we talk them through. And often we just want to use you as a sounding board. We just want to run something by you. If you come straight in and go, well, I think you should do this, it's not what we're looking for. We need to specifically ask your advice before you can do that. Don't ever assume we're weak, thick in the head, or that we only care about our parents or having babies. It might be ingrained, it might be what your dad thought, and you fight those beliefs. But if you've got those inside of you, all the polite, politically correct statements, all the things you say, they'll shoot you in the foot because we'll know that you don't believe it. So it's an attitude shift and it's a slight behaviour shift. We want to be treated as equals who are different to you. Now for the behaviour and attitudes of women. You're sitting there looking fairly smug. We need to start speaking up about the things that are important to us and stop being precious over the small stuff. If you've earned your place at the table, you need to own your place at the table, whether it's in a negotiation, in a board meeting, in a management meeting. Don't sit there hoping someone will take the hint of what you're trying to say. Speak up. You've earned your place, own your place. An example of the preciousness that some women have. I do through Women in Leadership Australia, I run women's forums all across the country. And in getting the women's attention, you've got 150 women in a room, 100 women in a room, getting their attention from a discussion group, it's time to talk now. I used to go, okay ladies, and then a couple of women over time had written they were insulted that I called them ladies. So then I thought, all right, maybe that's not a good thing. So at another one I went, okay guys, don't like being called a guy, I'm a woman. So now I tell them that right at the beginning, here's why I'm going to call you, hey you wild and funky chicks. This is how I'm going to address you. They're the things that we can get precious about. There's no point in me getting precious that this guy in Broken Hill said I was going to sort the Sheilas out, because it wasn't coming from a bad place. It wasn't a put down. We need to not be precious about the small stuff. There's a fabulous line from one of the Godfather movies, and we need to remember it in the workplace because it is part of one of our core differences. Most women are emotionally attached to things more so than men. And so we can weigh in too much, we can be too concerned. And the line that you should keep in your head, and pardon my really bad accent, but the line is, it's just business. So it's just about the work. When you're at work, what's happening is just about the work. It's not about you personally. We often take things personally when it's not about us. We need to remove the words just and only from our vocabulary if we're referring to ourselves. I worked with a group of women last week who were all admin people at another council, and it was a team day for them in one of the divisions. And a couple of them said when I did intros around the room, oh, I only do so-and-so. And I went, no, this is what you do, and there's nothing only about it. They're not words guys do use when they refer to themselves, and I think they're words that we can lose. When given praise, we need to respond with a simple thank you. Not a life story on why someone else deserves the praise. You might be congratulated. This is where we shoot ourselves in the foot. You might be congratulated for the project that you led. It is a male and female, and a male's led a project team and a female's led a project team. At the end of it, the male, and he's got it in on budget, on time, it's all really well, and the male will get the congratulations. He'll go, thanks, yeah, it was a pretty tough gig, but, we pulled it together, and I got this guy to do this, and here's what we did. And you say the same thing to a female, she'll go, oh, look, I had the best team. I couldn't have done it without the team. The team were awesome. And then she wonders why she doesn't get a promotion, because she's not selling herself. And there'll be more about that. The boys stand up and ask for or demand the opportunities, whereas women often stand back hoping that our great performance will get us noticed. We know that hinting doesn't work. If great performance were enough to get us there, then we wouldn't be having a forum today. We're not having this forum, and Karen's not speaking all around the state and the country at things if we were, it was just that we didn't work very hard and we needed to lift our game, and then we get the promotions and we be in senior positions. That's not what it's about at all. But we need to sell ourselves more. We need to accept what doesn't work and doesn't work and play the game accordingly. We have to stop trying to be perfect, girls. You wild and funky chicks, Sheilas. We set ridiculous standards for ourselves. And I was going to talk about, but I won't repeat it, what Karen said about unless we can fill 100% of the criteria, we won't go for the job. We need to believe in ourselves more. We need to get behind things. We need to get behind each other as well and support each other and mentor each other. We need to learn how to say no, because many of us have this bizarre belief that we have to do everything all the time for everybody. So we need to do it and not feel like we're failing. And there's some great ways, and there's a lot of guys that need to learn how to say no as well, especially if we're looking at this work-life balance thing. Interesting thing about work-life balance, we believe, and I think this is where we've got into trouble in the last 10 or so years in talking about work-life balance, we think it needs to be even. You think of the scales and it needs to be even. That's not what work-life balance is. I have this amount of allocated time with my family and friends and this much with work. It's not like that. It goes like that sometimes. But as long as it's swinging, that we've got more time with family. We have one of those years this year with and I think we all get them about apparently every 7 years. You have one of those years, I think it's commonly called your crap year, where you have deaths in the family, illnesses, all kinds of stresses. We've just come to the end of ours. And throughout that year, this year, through health issues and all sorts of things with family got the really high end. And then the pendulum comes back. So we need to make sure that it's moving. It's not like this all the time. If we aim for work-life balance like this all the time, we'll get more stressed and feel like we're failing on both sides. Many years ago, I went to a lunch and down in Sydney, and one of the speakers, and I wish I could remember this woman's name, it was a long time ago, but she was one of the vice presidents of IBM International, and she'd worked with IBM back when computers took up a room this size. You know, so she'd been with them right from the ground. She'd been there about 30, 40 years. And she's this amazing little woman, and she did a presentation. It's really inspiring. At the end of it, one of the people there said, how do you achieve work-life balance? And she said, oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. So the woman repeated, she said, no, I'm not being smart. I don't understand why it's such a big issue. And she said something that, like Karen found Guy Russo's talk inspiring. This was something that hit a nerve for me, and I've still got the serviette, which I've written her name on. I've still got the serviette where I wrote this quote from her. She said, we talk about work-life balance, but there's only life. We're not born working. And for me, this really hit a nerve because I, at the time, was putting too much into work. I put everything into it and forgot who I was. And didn't get that the balance is putting yourself in there as well. And so there's only life really hit a nerve with me, and we need to remember that at times. So we all need to know how to say no, but the girls need to do it, I think, need to learn the message stronger. And there's some tips on how to say no. One of the problems with saying no is that because we need to explain ourselves and need to be understood, women tend to go, no, I can't because. And as soon as you do that, because we feel bad at saying no to someone, we feel bad at letting them down, so as soon as you do that, you open up opportunities for people to shut all those down. An example, if a friend says to me, Kelly, can you mind my kids this weekend? Actually, most of them would know that was a stupid question. But if they did say, Kelly, could you mind my kids for me this weekend? And I might say, oh, look, I'd love to. I'd love to, but I've been away working all week and I've got to get my housework done. I've got friends coming for dinner Saturday night, so I'm giving all these really good reasons why I can't do it. And so they'll come back with something like, oh, that's fine, they love to help me around the house. Or that's fine, just give them a DVD. Or they love cooking. And then you're backed into a corner. So one of the things that you can say, and I'm going to talk in a moment about not apologising, but here's an opportunity if you want to slide it in there and be nice, because we need to be nice with a disease to please, but you might go, oh, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Full stop. End of story. No, I can't. One of the women, when I was working with this organisation doing the negotiation workshops, there was this lovely woman there, and she had this way of doing it. She's a woman in her 50s who's single, and all of her friends assumed that she needed to be doing stuff with them every weekend. And she said, I actually like my own company and pottering around. So what she learned to say, because she didn't want to be nasty in how she said no, is she would go, oh, thanks for asking, but no. Full stop. So we need to learn how to say no, and we need to realise that the world will not stop if we're not doing everything. Now, it may not be relevant for the women in this room, but there are still a lot of women who do cute. We need to lose cute. Cute only lasts till you're about 23 or 24, and you need to have a little bit more substance behind you from after that. And I'd like to think that we don't do cute anymore, but every so often I'm hit with cute. I do one-on-one coaching, and a woman I had a meeting with the other week is a senior general manager within a coal company. And there's not a lot of women working in the mining area. And I met with her, and she had these beautiful tresses, fabulous hair, and just exquisite makeup. She's a very, very attractive woman. And when I talked to her, she flicked the hair all the time, and I thought, do you do that in board meetings with the guys? She did the flick. And I spoke to her because I'm working with one of her managers who was having problems with her, so I wanted to get a bit of a feel for where the issues were. What I found out is that her style, and I heard this from one of her colleagues at the same level, her style is to go, oh yeah, I thought we could do this. And then when they don't agree, then she comes down on them like a ton of bricks and does the scary, big shoulder pad thing that we did in the 80s, ball-tearing, scary chick thing. And so the men don't know how to deal with that because she's not, she's either, oh, how am I going to get my own way? And then she goes slap. It doesn't work. We need to take some of the emotion out of it. Not all of the emotion out of it, because being emotional is one of our greatest strengths. we need to stop apologising if we aren't in the wrong. Women apologise for a lot of stuff, and it drives the guys nuts. We apologise for how we look. We apologise if someone bumps into us. If you go to walk into a ladies' loo and there's someone coming the other way and you don't see them because you don't have x-ray vision and you push the door on them, or they push the door on you, you apologise. It's not your fault, you didn't know. We apologise if we're too strong or for our abilities, we undersell ourselves. Here are some things, and I've done quite a lot of research in this over time. I'm slowly writing a book and I'm not apologising for how slow it is. But I did some research on this and interviewed lots and lots of women, about 95 I think, on the things that they apologise for and the things they make excuses for. And from that I started to think, here are some things I don't apologise for anymore. I don't apologise for being an emotional person or sensitive. I said sensitive, not oversensitive. I think we often get, there's pressures, but I think we are sensitive to things generally. The term sensitive and emotional are seen as negative qualities in women, and that's one of the differences we need to accept between the genders if we're going to work well together. Did you know that emotional intelligence is regarded or referred to as sensitivity, and we're all excited about emotional intelligence these days? I'm not sorry that I communicate assertively. Having an opinion and being able to state it fairly confidently doesn't make me a bitch. I accept that not everyone's going to agree with what I say. I don't have to be friends with everyone I talk to, but I have an opinion and I'm allowed to have my opinion. I don't go about it to deliberately distress someone or undermine someone or put someone else down, but I assertively have my opinion and I know how to use it. We all have opinions and a voice, and some people are quieter than others. Some males, some females have a very quiet style, but we need to make sure if we're going to move forward that we hear everyone, and that's why today's fabulous. When you're working in your groups, in your workshop, make sure that everyone is getting a voice, not just those that are more confident to speak up. Listen to everyone. I'm not sorry for enjoying being the boss. I love being the boss. We used to have a number of staff. I've been in management positions, a variety of organisations over the years. Now I'm the boss of our massive corporation of 2. There's poor Gary sitting in the front, and Gary is actually fine with it most of the time that I am in charge. But I like taking the lead. I run the Business Women's Network. I step up and organise things. I like that, and I make no apologies for it. We have different ambitions. And for many people, the idea of being the one in charge doesn't do anything for them. And that's okay too. We need to accept that not everyone wants to be in charge. Part of, and if you look at from childhood play with women, part of our play is to be similar and like each other and be alike and fit with the group. And part of male play is about hierarchy and status. Who's the strongest, who's the toughest, and that comes from the animal kingdom. So the males are wanting, the status and hierarchy, and it works in sport, in conversations, in work. And the female style from child play, Deborah Tannen, an American woman, has done a lot of studies into this, and we all want to just fit in, and we wear the same clothes. If you look at a group of even teenagers or young girls walking through Westfield, they'll all work out that they're going to wear these kind of shoes today or those kind of, and then all think they're different. It's what we have a tendency to do. The problem with that in the workplace, though, is when we want to step out from that and not be like everybody else, and step up and take senior positions and maybe be unpopular at times because of the decisions we have to make, we often feel uncomfortable with that. So we need to get comfortable with that and accept it. It doesn't, although the people that don't want to be in charge, it doesn't mean that they're less committed to their jobs. They just don't need to step up. I'm not sorry for being passionate. The actress Glenda Jackson once said, if I'm too strong for some people, that's their problem. It's passionate people who move forward. Alan's obviously passionate about this. Ruth and the rest of the women on the committee are passionate about this. They're the passion's that makes things move forward. But it's actually hard if you are that sort of person to work out why not everyone wants to go along with you all of the time. Strong, passionate people can freak other people out, And I've had to learn a lot the hard way that sometimes I freak people out, but I've decided it's their problem, just like Glenda said. Women need to be more authentic and stop saying what we think other people want to hear. As I said before, if you've earned your place at your table, you need to use your place at the table. And we need to say what we mean. We make a mistake of dancing around things. And I'm not saying all women, but a lot of women still do this. We hint at things. We assume that people will pick up that our performance is really good because we don't want to big note ourselves all the time. We're given the same opportunities a lot of the time, but because we're not responding to those opportunities in the same way males do, it can get missed. So the males need to understand sometimes you need to draw women out if we're to accept we are different and go for true equity. And women need to sometimes put their hand up a little bit more. We need to support other women even if we're feeling down on ourselves or insecure. Now, I know there's still a lot of situations where the males are stopping opportunities for women, or the males are treating women poorly, in the home front and in the workplace. But I also believe women do it to themselves a lot of the time. Women have what I believe is a light side and a dark side. Our light side is incredibly supportive. There's no one better than your best girlfriend. You can tell your best girlfriend or your sister amazing things. That's our light side. And we can get behind others, support them, be compassionate, caring, etc., etc. But our dark side comes from insecurity. And our dark side is cliquey and bitchy, and so that's where we often shoot ourselves in the foot because we don't support other women coming through. So have you got all that? It's pretty simple, really. Actually, if we all left here today and when we started to communicate with other people, we thought about what we were saying, how we were saying it, and what we really felt about the situations, and started to check in with ourselves a little bit more, we might stop making some of the mistakes that the different genders make. We also need to accept, as I said before, not all males have a male style, not all females have a female style. The one that's probably the scariest is the female with a strong male style. And she might have had that since birth. And so the females really struggle with that sort of person, and so do the guys, because they don't know what box to put them in. We need to accept every single person we're dealing with is different, with their own thoughts, their own ideas, their own upbringing, their own set of values, and look at ways to bridge the gap so we can understand each other more, so we can work together better. It's actually kind of like how you eat an elephant. As they say, one bite at a time. I'm not seeing this level of commitment, as I said before, to gender equity happening in too many other places, and I work all over the country. So many other organisations just pay lip service to it. I believe today's forum is a great first bite, and congratulations. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.